Hi and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And my name is Callie, also known as Callisters.
Wait, what?
Just kidding.
Just kidding. This is actually...
Amanda, also known as Steve's sister.
Yes, so you'll notice a little bit of a change. One, the dogs are here.
Say hi.
Ernest over here, if you're new, this is Ernest, our Yorkie. And this little Pudgers, who's all excited. This is Cornelius, affectionately known as Corn Dog. And so it is late on a Monday night, and Callie could not record this episode. She is super busy getting work done and prepared for going on vacation this week. So my sister graciously accepted the invitation to record with me. Since she's been getting a little bit more into the knitting world, and so she's got some stuff to show, and she's gonna contribute to the conversation. We won't keep the dogs up here the whole time. Amanda's is a huge dog lover, so she's the one who do not worry as much traveling as we do. Amanda's the one who stays home with the dogs and gives them much puppy love. So they are spoiled with their auntie Amanda, and yeah, so they know that. But they are never allowed upstairs, but Andy is actually out of town. He left tonight to go back home for his dad's birthday tomorrow. And so Amanda and I are having a chill night, and it's like 8:30 at night, and we're recording. And then we're going to actually watch a movie afterwards and do some knitting. So she's helping me, keeping me company, so I'm not by my lonesome. I'm not used to that anymore, so... Anyway, if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. It's going to be a little bit different from normal, but somebody wants to get down. So, and there goes the other one. So hopefully they do not knock into the tripod, but we'll see what happens. So, we're going to go into a little bit of a review of what's been going on in our lives, and that we normally do. And yeah, so... Last time we spoke, we had just returned from Minnesota, from Yarn Over in Minneapolis, which was a great time. And I was talking about hopefully we were going to go on vacation, remember? And so we didn't know where we were going to go. Well, after we recorded, Andy and I sat down and looked at vacations. And if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you know that we actually booked a vacation and we went back down to Mexico for a quick trip, and we went to Playa del Carmen this time rather than Cancun. We flew into Cancun, but we went the opposite direction, about a half hour or so, and we stayed at a resort called the Blue Diamond Luxury Boutique Hotel. I think it's a long name. It was a very nice resort. We were quite spoiled with the resort we went to in Cancun last fall, so there were just some things that didn't hit the mark for us at this hotel. Was it amazing? Was it what we needed? Absolutely. We relaxed, we sat on the beach, we got massages, I got a facial, Andy got a pedicure, and we relaxed. That's what we needed to do. So it was a very narrow retreat, the property. Very narrow but long. From the lobby to the beach was about a mile, so if you wanted to go anywhere, you either had to be chauffeured by golf cart or they loaned you bikes, and so you would ride your bike through the resort. And it was actually in the jungle for the most part until you got to the beach. So we got to see lots of wildlife and animals and birds, all types of birds. Our suite was actually on the lagoon on the property, so there was tons of these awesome birds all the time. And supposedly crocodiles, which I didn't see. But we did see turtles, and Andy saw a snake, I saw a kookaburra, and we saw tons of iguana. Huge iguana, like the size of my head to all through my torso iguana. So that was cool, but it was very humid. Like once you got off the beach, it was really humid and hot, and I run hot in general, and so I don't need nature's natural glow all the time, but yeah, so but the food was pretty good. There wasn't a whole lot of selection. There was no like buffet or anything, so you had limited menus, but it was good. So we went for 4 nights, 5 days. We flew in on Tuesday, and then we flew back home on Saturday. It was kind of a craziness getting out of the airport on Saturday, and our flight was delayed. And supposedly we're going to have turbulence coming down into Chicago, but it wasn't that bad, or at least I felt like I dealt with it pretty well. I told Amanda I had a instance where the stewardess dropped a can of Coke and it kind of sprayed all over her, but it got a little bit all over me and the other guy in the aisle, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but I ended up getting a credit on my next flight, so that's good. So I'll take advantage of that whenever we go on vacation again. So that's pretty much been that on vacation. That was a lot of fun. And then we worked for a couple of days and we went back to Minnesota to the Stillwater Lake Elmo area. And we vended at Shepherd's Harvest for the first time this past weekend. And that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to those of you who came by and said hi. And it was such a family-friendly event. It was probably the one thing closest to what I would assume Rhinebeck or Maryland would be. There was tons of demonstrations and classes and animals and food vendors and 3 barns full of fiber vendors plus a whole barn full of exhibits.
I heard animals.
Yes, animals. There were sheep, there were llama, there were alpaca, and there were yak, baby yak. I did not see the yak, but Andy did.
I don't think I've ever seen a yak in person.
I don't think I have either. But there were sheepdog demonstrations, so Andy watched that, and he watched some sheep shearing. He got to actually see a sheep sheared, which we've been to other events that they've done that, but he's never been able to go and watch it. He's seen sheepdog herding before, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun. We had friends in that come to this event, so it was cool. I got to hang out with some of my friends and walk the barns, and I did a little bit of shopping. Not too bad, but a little bit. I got coerced into the group mind think on a purchase, which I'll show you a little bit later. But yeah, so that was up till yesterday, and we were going to just head a few hours home and then get a hotel. And by the time we stopped for dinner, we were only 4 hours from home. It was about a 7-hour drive, so we drove about 3 hours, and we stopped for dinner. It was like 9 o'clock, and we're like, well, Andy's like, I really want to go home. He left for home this afternoon, and he's like, I want to leave on Monday. He's like, let's just push through, and we drove the whole way home, and we got home a little before 1 a.m. So I slept in. Mandy showed up for work, because if you do not know, Amanda works for us. She's the one who does she's the master rescanner extraordinaire and does inventory and packages orders while we're going all that. So she showed up for work, and I still wasn't out of bed. I felt spoiled, but...
You know, Andy was like, your brother's not up yet. I was like, okay, I'll play with the dogs.
Yeah, and then I came downstairs, I'm like, good morning. And then I took a nap this afternoon, too, because I mowed the lawn and took care of house stuff, but I did not dye any yarn today, which I need to hit the dye pots hard tomorrow. Anyway, so that's been my 2 weeks. What have you been up to recently?
Chilling at your house.
Yeah. Spending time with the dogs?
Yes. Yeah.
And rescanning yarn?
Yeah.
A lot of yarn rescanning. A lot of knots put into yarn to make it look pretty.
Yeah. Got the calluses to prove it.
It's not an easy job doing yarn. Making yarn. Making it look pretty. But, yeah. So that's it? Nothing else fun?
No.
You went out to your, friend's graduation a little last
Yeah, well,
weekend.
it turns out, so I thought my friend was actually graduating, but she's not even graduating until December, but she just had, like, a final, like, get-together thing, but...
But it was a good time?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, let's get to the knitting then. What is taking about? I don't have anything. I've made progress, but I have big projects on the needles. So I don't have anything finished, but I did ask Amanda to bring over something that one of her most recent finished objects. So I guess that you didn't go much into about your past 2 weeks because you've been here a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of talk about like when you got into knitting and this recent new thing?
Most recently was it my freshman year of college? I think it was.
I think it was, yeah, because I took you to like a different knit night,
Mm-hmm.
and you were big into the arm knitting. I think back then.
Well, I do remember when I was younger. I can't remember what age, but I remember you buying me needles. I don't even know if you remember this, but I think you worked at Meyer. Like it was way back when.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and he had bought me like regular. See, I don't even know half the terminology. Like the regular like
straight needles.
Yes, the straight needles. I think you taught. I don't remember what it was, but he taught me how to knit something. And I think after I knit that, it was like, okay, I mean, I was really young. And then when I moved over here to go to school, I was visiting on weekends or whatnot, and he just kind of got me into it. And I was into it for a while, and then I discovered arm knitting, and I really enjoyed that because I like the really bulky yarn, and it was fun. It was just something different. Did that for a little while, and then school and work and everything just kind of had me push it to the wayside, so I kind of stopped off for a little bit. And then I can't think of when I started, like, big time.
Going at it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was... I don't know. It was probably a couple months ago, because I know you kind of had started... She started on her own. So, my sister and I have a close relationship, but, like, she doesn't always come to me for the first thing. So, like, she had kind of picked up knitting again on her own. Because I was like, you're going to be a knitter. You're around yarn all the time. And she's like, no, I'm not. I get enough of the yarn all day when I'm working here. And then she had started knitting by herself and didn't even, like, tell me.
Well,
and so then she was like, I bought yarn. It was just so soft at the store. And da-da-da-da. Yeah. And again, she does... We're trying to get her on the thinner stuff. She'll show you what she's working on. And I think she's getting used to it. But she does, like, the thicker, bulky, worsted type projects, which I think is just good for a newer knitter, right, too. It's easier to work with. Things go quicker. You can work with your stitches a little easier. But, yeah, she's like, oh, yeah, I've been doing some stuff. And I was like, what?
Well, I remember, because when I started working here, when was it, like August or something?
July last year.
Yeah.
Almost a year.
I was around this yarn all the time, and I remember, I was just like, okay, maybe I want to. Like, I don't know, I was constantly feeling this yarn, and I was getting excited, like, looking at all of his colors and, like, different things. And I think it was your Father Time cowl. I think I lied to you and told you I finished it, and I didn't. I had it in my storage space, I think, and I went and got it and, like, finished it. And I was like, okay, I want to do something else. And then I had some yarn... because back that second time that I started knitting, I had bought in some things, and I had some yarn, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do something with it. And I remember, I think I made a scarf or something, but then I made, like, a dog blanket for my mom's dog. I don't know, I just started kind of really getting into it. And then,
yeah, I would say that would probably be the first thing I remember seeing you working on was we were at the Northern Michigan Lamb and Wool Festival, and you were helping me then. And yeah, you had brought that to work on because it was super easy, and you were working on the dog blanket out of like some red acrylic.
Yeah.
And you finished it, and the dog loves it, so that was good.
Well, I think I was also really excited. That same yarn that I had for the blanket, I had like left over, and I decided to make a scarf. And I just like played with it. Like I didn't like go by any certain pattern. I wanted to try new like
stitches and techniques.
So I just I couldn't even tell you what stitches I did, but like I just made up this pattern myself. Didn't even write it down, but I thought it was really cool, and I got a lot of compliments like when I would help him then for certain things. Like people were like, "That's so cool. That's so pretty." I was like,
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm making it. That's where we're a little bit different. We're very much alike in a lot of respects, but we're a little bit different in that respect. Because I got into knitting because I like following directions. Like, that is fun for me. Like, when I cook, I have to follow a recipe to the T. And so, like, that's why I got into knitting. I liked a pattern that told me what to do and to follow it. And I'm kind of the same way in terms of my real life, like, trivial things like chores. Like, I would tell Andy and he wouldn't believe me. I'm like, if you tell me to do this or to cook this for dinner, then I will do it. Like, I feel like it's an obligation or it's something that I need to complete. Again, our brains work differently, all right? But you just kind of were like, I wonder how this works.
I mean, I am like that, and I like the list to an extent. Like, even in cooking, like, I feel like I need a recipe, but I'm also, like, where he's not comfortable, like, making concoctions like I am. Like, I'll be like, okay, so I made this, that's like the basis. Let me just go to the spice cabinet and just grab a bunch of things and put it in, and it tastes good. Okay. So, I don't know. I like to kind of, once I get comfortable with something, I like to try new things and create new things on my own. it makes it more exciting for me.
And so I think, I don't know whether you omitted it or not, but I think that's kind of why you didn't tell me right away that you got into knitting, because you also knew how excited I would be. And like, I would just go gung-ho and be like, we're going to do this, and da, 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 da. And so I kind of realized that, and I got excited, but I took a step back, and, you know, she would occasionally go with me to knit nights and whatnot, but she was like, I knew she didn't, I don't think you wanted to become as obsessed as you knew I was.
Yeah, and I didn't want to, like, I don't want to say I didn't want to disappoint you, but, like, I don't know, it was just, like, if I do drop it off, like, I don't want you to be, like, I don't, like, dishearten you.
Right, and I get that. But things have been good. So she's now coming to knitting almost every week with me. We go together, and she does some of the swatches that I've been talking about. One of the three of us who do swatches for our colorways, and she got 2 more done while we were gone this weekend, so that's exciting. So she helps with that. So and we got her on her first, like, official, like, well-known pattern, and so we'll show you that in Works in Progress, because I'm super excited because I want to knit it. But she got enamored with it at YarnCon, but I'll let her tell you about that. But let's talk about her finished object. So she brought one that she finished, and we wrote down notes so that she could remember what it is.
So this is called the GaN Shawl, a shawl by Britt
Schmeising.
Yeah. And I didn't...
This was our first time using fingering weight.
Yeah. So it was different for me because it was such a thin yarn. But, like, I was kind of excited. Like, this was my first thing because I got stuck into, like, doing scarves or hats, like, or, like, the swatches. Like, I wasn't doing anything, like, I don't know, out of the box. Like, this is a triangle. This isn't a square or a rectangle, you know? So,
and there's shaping to it. Because, yeah, again, you're making the triangle, but you're doing increases and decreases and things like that.
And, I mean, it's very simple, but I also thought it has, like, a little detail in the middle. I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool. I made it smaller because, personally, I wanted something that was just kind of going to be small, like, around the neck, kind of like a scarf, so I didn't make it as wide. But
yeah, because you plan on wearing it kerchief style, or whoever would wear it. Plus, she had a big jumbo skein of yarn, and so it was like a light fingering, like a little bit between fingering and lace. And who did you use? It was...
Anomalous Mind.
Yep. And she has donated to the podcast before. That is... sorry, I can't remember her name. But that is the sister of Mint Rain Studios. And I had swapped for this at, I believe, an Ann Arbor show, but then I gave it to Amanda as a Christmas gift. I gave her a whole, like, knitting care package full of yarns because I wanted her to try a variety. So I gave her, like, a range of yarns and colorways, and this was kind of Christmassy color. It didn't have a colorway name to it.
Yeah. I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
But...
Cool. So that's her finished object, the GaN Shawl. Like I said, I don't have anything, so let's move into our what's performing this episode. What are we working on? So let me show you all the things that I'm working on. So the first thing is my April Showers cardigan by Dallas Ann Prentice. And I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arch Show Steeler in the Turkey Run, which is beautiful speckle, and Orchard Slope colorways. And I'm almost done with the body. And so there's the front of it, and it's got this, like, peplum swing jacket kind of look where you knit it sideways across the bottom. So I really only have that little, do you see that little bit left I got to do sideways? But then once I'm done, I have to pick up along the side and the collar and around the whole border, and then on a smaller needle, and I'll do the accent green, and then you pick up, bless you.
Excuse me.
Then I pick up around, it's just got little cap sleeves, and you pick up and again do the contrast color around the side. So it's meant to be like a, you know, spring, summer layering piece, very, you know, just short sleeve to put over, you know, an air conditioning and whatnot. But this is going to be a shop sample once I get it done. So that is that, and that's knit on a size 6 and 4 US, which is a 4 millimeter and a 3.5 millimeter. All right. And then next is my ribbon wrap. by Illy Tilly. And I'm using Lumina Fiber Arts Box Office, our worsted weight, in Darkest Hour, Nude Scene, Poseidon, and Into the Woods. So this is where I'm at. Actually, this is what I'm going to work on tonight while we watch the movie. But this is that second piece I was telling you about. So it's a beautiful construction where you start with like a shawl, and then you knit stripes one way, and then you pick up and knit other stripes, and then you have to do a second piece and you graft them together. So I finished the first piece, and this, by the way, is knit on a size 9 US, which is a 5.5 millimeter needle. So I think this would be one that you would really like with your thicker weight.
When I saw that, I do love that thicker weight, and it's something that I would actually wear. Like, that's a thing, when I knit stuff, I'm like, a lot of it, I feel like I would never wear it, but this is just so cute. So,
here is this first. You can see the turn in the ribbon. And again, I think I could have chose a little bit better contrasting color, but I still think it shows up.
It works, I feel.
And so, this is the side that's left live on a spare needle, and I'll knit the second piece, and then it's grafted. So, it's going to be a lot of grafting over here. But it's going to be a substantial size shawl, and especially with the superwash, it's going to grow when I block it. So it'll be a nice big wrap.
It's going to be so comfy, too.
It's going to be a shop sample, but I'm excited for that. It's fun knit. It's very simple. It's the construction that makes it interesting. So that's number 2. Alright, welcome back. So, sorry for the weird splice there. Andy actually called. I told him to call me tonight. And unfortunately, when you get a phone call and it's connected to your iPad, it also turns off the recording. So, it is what it is. So, I was just getting ready to tell you about my Suburban Rap. That's my next work in progress. And this is by Joji Locatelli. And I'm doing this as another shop sample. So, I'm using Lumina Fiber Arts, our monologue base, which is our 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 15% yak, single ply fingering weight. It is so luxurious and it's like a cloud. So it's a fun wrap with textures, stripes, lace, everything. So I worked on this past weekend, and here's where I'm at. I didn't weave in my ends so far. So it starts with the lace here, and then you stripe in the second color, and then you do some eyelets and garter, and then some texture, and then some more eyelets and garter, and some texture, and some more stripes, and some more lace, and some garter and eyelets, and I've got another section of lace, but I did not want to have to think that hard last night at like midnight, so I just put it away. So the first color I'm using is Fortune Teller, and then this is Glow Stick, the green, the bright green, and then this slightly speckled variegated is Sea Turtle. So I think Sea Turtle and Fortune Teller are very similar because I use the colors in Sea Turtle as the contrast, so I don't think it's as stark here as, let's say, the stripes down here, but I still think it works. So yeah, and again, because this has yak in it, the base, when we dye it, is a natural gray-brown, so it takes all of our colors completely different than our normal colors.
Yeah, I was going to say, the glow stick looks so different.
It's it's like fluorescent normally, and this is a little bit more sour apple green, though, but again, it's got a sheen to it with the silk, but then also that kind of airiness with the yak and the different colors, so that's why I brought it in. It was something different, you know. I could have brought in the single ply that a lot of people carry, that's merino, which is beautiful, but I was like, I want to do something that's a little bit different, and I feel like there are people who carry yak, but it's not as prevalent, so. And that's in on a size 6 US 4mm needle as well. And then my last thing I'm working on, I took with me to Mexico, so I got a lot of work done on it because I was just getting started with it last time we recorded. And that is Architecture, and that is by Jennifer Weissman. I'm using Black Cat Fibers Nomad Sock in the Demeter Gradient, who Anna and Antoinette of Black Cat, we love them. We got to be across from them again this past weekend. Mandy's met them. They're pretty rad chicks, and we're excited that we do a lot of the same shows. But we won't see each other till next month when we're both at Zombie Knit Apocalypse. But I kind of love this knit. This is a lot of fun because it's not hard stitches. It's very simple stitches, but when you get bored with the stitch, you move on to something different. And I think the gradient really adds something to it. So here it is so far. I'm into the 5th of 10 colors. And so You can see here the 5 colors so far. And you do things like seed stitch and garter and stockinette and more seed stitch, and then you do ribbing. And there's some reverse stockinette up in here. So it's... And then you do this kind of arrow technique, and then it'll have a point, another point where you decrease out, so it'll be pointed on both ends. And I'm tempted, I may keep this for myself. I think this might go well with my black coat.
So those are like our kind of colors.
Yeah, they do a beautiful set. They have 2 gradient sets that they really do well. They have like a teal, aqua purple, green one that's beautiful, that's more vibrant, and then they have this one that they do really well. So, yeah. And they do full skeins and then the mini skein versions. And I put all the mini skeins together with magic knots so that I didn't have to weave in ends, because I knew I was just knitting this as we go. I'm doing the medium size, so it calls for like an extra repeat in there to use all the yardage that I can. So that is all that I'm working on. I didn't really, I might have put 1 granny square on my blanket, but I didn't bring it up to show, even though I have a new accoutrement for my granny square blanket, which I'll show here in just a minute. So what are you working on, darling?
Well,
oh my gosh, I'm all tied up.
I am working on the Lumina Wrap by Amba O'Brien.
You might have heard of Amba. She's just, you know, little designer.
Well, I went with Callie to YarnCon in Chicago to see them, and sorry.
All your ends are knotted up.
Yeah. And I walked around, and I wasn't like planning on buying yarn per se, because I'm just fresh out of college.
And she's very frugal.
Yeah.
In everything she does.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to look around. I like to look around and get inspiration, and I was going around looking at, like, patterns that people had.
And samples.
Yeah, because I like to look at the patterns and see, like, just get ideas for things, and I was in, I think it was at Black Cat. I saw this pattern, and I was just like, man, I really like that. And, like, I walked around, like, 2 or 3 times just looking at everyone's pattern, and, like, nothing was, like, you know, really, like, popping out at me. And I kept going back to that. And then at one point, Andy was in there, and I was, like, trying to get his attention to, like, seem like, do you like this? But, I mean, he was too busy talking. And then finally, he had a moment, and I was like, come with me. Like, I want to know if I'll be able to do this, like, with my skills. And, he was like, yeah, and he got all excited, and I was just like, I don't know, I've never been so excited for something, and, it's so different for me, because it is with that, like, fingering weight, I had to get used to it in my hand, but, I'm not that far,
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not that far, I'm still, in the 1 color.
So she bought the pattern at Black Cat, and then she was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. And they switched, actually, the colors, because you're supposed to use the different colors in the lace, and then you use your common color in the garter. But Black Cat sample was reversed, and so that's what Mandy actually liked. And so she, I was like, no, let's get you up out of our yarn, because you don't have to pay for our yarn. It's kind of the perks of working for the business, and I was like, I could use it as a sample, and you get the friend, you know, well, not the friends and family, but the family discount. You know, so we kitted her up with some mini skeins and then 2 skeins. She needed 2 skeins of the main color for all the lace work, and then she needed 5 mini skeins, I think. We'll see how long it gets. Yeah. We may need to add, because I was looking at their sample again. But we got 5 mini skeins that she liked and 2 of the main skeins. It's all out of our showstopper.
Showstopper, yeah.
So this is the main color.
I've got, the main color is going to be Smoky Quartz. I just love that color.
It is a popular one.
These are very much my colors. I remember going home and, like, I showed my mom right away. I was like, oh my God, like, aren't these so cute? And she was like, no. She's like, but it's you. And I was like, well, yeah, it's me. So I'm excited about it. And then the color I started with was, there's not much left, but Gothic Queen, one of my all-time favorites. Then this might be the Haunted Wood, I believe. The Haunted Wood. And then I'm going with Eternal Kiss. Notice I only balled up 2 so far.
Yeah, because the mini skeins are best to be balled up by hand.
And then I've also got Blue Steel and Shadows in the Trees.
So those are kind of the color palette right now.
So yeah, that's going to be like the gradient.
And we'll see how long it gets. If she needs to add more, if we need to go in reverse, we could do that. So she could do, you know, the colors back on itself, or we could add different colors in. But, yeah. Did you want to show the picture, since you've got the pattern there, what it's going to look like?
I think, is that the biggest? Yeah, that's the biggest picture. So there's that.
And so you see in the original, the different colors are in the lace section, and so she's just swapping those out. But we looked at the yardages, and we think that this will work. So.
And I haven't gotten too far because, well, I had to restart it 2 or 3 times because I wasn't used to the thinner yarn, like, it was kind of slipping off, or like, this is also my very first time, this is what scared me, it's my very first time, like, switching colors.
Which might be what you want to do during the movie tonight.
Yeah.
You want to weave in your ends, just so you don't have so many, and they don't get in the way.
But, like, I was super proud of myself when I first switched the color.
Well, and she did, like, lace from the written instructions. I asked her if she was using the chart. She's like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, well, I can teach you. But then we had a whole discussion at midnight about those of us who prefer written to charted. And,
yeah.
But she went ahead and she did the lace, I think the first part at knit night, talking with people. She was able to do it. So.
But that's also the thing, like, because I'm not used to it, like, I'm much better, like, staring at the pattern and, like, having, like, no other distractions when I'm doing it. So that's why I haven't, like, gotten farther, because I, like, need to sit, like, that's something good for knit night, because I can sit there and focus on it. Whereas, like, because the first time I started it, I think I was in front of the TV, and, like, if I took my eyes off of it, I was like,
where am I? I've lost my place in the row.
So
we talked about how to, like, read your knitting, and I think this is a good lace pattern for reading lace, like where your holes line up and things. And that's kind of, I have that sometimes. Even the lace that like I said last night, I was just, some of the rows are long, and I didn't want to wrap my mind around it last night driving home so late. So, but that's awesome. I'm glad you're super excited about that project, and we'll see.
And then I gotta do those swatches, so.
Yeah, swatches are adding up. I gotta get some more dyed up.
Well, the crazy thing with that was I was actually working on a scarf, and I stopped that to work on that, and that's my first time, like.
She's like, I didn't finish a project before I started a new one.
Like, I was being monogamous, and then I stopped, but that's okay.
You're a polygamous knitter now. We've infiltrated your ways. All right, so let's talk about what's in rehearsal then. Mandy hasn't really thought about this because I haven't told her, but so for me, I'm going to be knitting more swatches. I know Mandy's going to be knitting more swatches, but I also said I'm going to cast on the next thing I cast off. When I finish something, the next thing that I cast on is going to be Crevasse by the Plucky Knitter Designs, so I could use that very expensive yarn that I got at Stitches West, so that Andy will not be bugging me to get it on the needles. Because that was his whole thing. Like, I looked at more yarns, which I may have came home with a little bit of yarn, but I was almost going to buy a sweater's worth of yarn. They had, like, woolly wool, non-superwash, like a discount vendor, and I could get balls of yarn for, like, $4, and I could have had a sweater's lot for, like, $40, which is really cheap for knitting. But they were one skein short for the sweater that I was going to make. And they didn't have it in any other colors. So it was the earth in the world telling me not to knit it, but like Andy says, he's like, I don't mind that you spend money on your craft. What I mind is you buy all this yarn and then it just sits there and it doesn't get used. So he really wants me to use the plucky yarn. So I'm gonna get that done. So what are you wanting to work on when you finish this wrap?
Well, I need to ask Kelly what it actually is. But I remember, I don't know if it was the first time that I went to knit night, but one of the first times I was walking around and at our yokel?
Stop being such a yokel.
At our local yarn store,
Fan on, notes flying away.
I came across this scarf, pretty like large, wide scarf, and just fell in love like with everything, like the look, the colors, the feel.
It's very natural tones of wool from dark to light in various shades.
I don't know. I just fell in love with it because I think one of the things that like kind of like drew me away from knitting was like I wasn't knitting things that I would like really wear, because I don't wear a lot of knitwear, like maybe some hats and scarves, and that's all I was really knitting. But I don't know. It's just something that, like, it draws it to me, and every time I see it, like, every time we go there, I'm just like, I look at it, and I'm just like, one day, you will be mine. Like, that's just how I feel.
Well, and I think you're where a lot of people start off in knitting, where you're what we call a product knitter. You want to have a viable product that you can use when it's done.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's kind of what turned you off, because you're like, well, I don't see myself wearing those. Whereas I'm now fully admitted, I'm a process knitter. I enjoy the process of knitting, using yarn, playing with color, and I knit a ton of shawls. Do I ever wear a shawl? Do I wear most of my knitwear? No. But, again, it's also a difference, I think, in lifestyle, too, because I have a lot of yarns. I can play with a lot of things. I can knit to knit and give it away, and that's okay. But I think sometimes, like you said, you're fresh out of college, working for me. You know, you need, if you're going to put that time and money into it, you want to have something that's viable, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
But I think you're leaning a little bit, like, you'd wear that wrap, you like the colors, but whether you'd actually wear it all the time, I think you're starting to feel that itch of the process of knitting, which I think is really going to go with you and your personality, because like you said, when you were knitting that scarf, you were just doing your own thing because you wanted to experiment, which is part of the process.
Like, I found that very fun.
Yeah. So you were that was the process knitting, you know what I mean? So,
well, I think that's also why, like, I don't mind those swatches, because it is very mindless, and I can, like, because I enjoy, like, I think you're that way too, like, you need to always be doing something with your hands.
I think a lot of us out there are.
Yeah.
That's what draws us together.
So,
we gotta feel like we're doing something.
So I do really enjoy, like, that sort of stuff, but if I, like, go out of my way to, like, make this thing with, like, expensive stuff and then I just, like, put it in a bin or something, I feel weird about that, you know? So
that's the frugalness. That's not the straight out of college part. That's just, she's frugal. We always make fun of her because our mom is very, very frugal, and
she says I'm worse.
She is. She's good at finding deals. Let me tell you, she's real good at finding deals.
Straight to the clearance.
All right, let's talk about behind the scenes. So my spinning, I did finish some spinning, and I had Mandy scan it up so that I could show it to you. It is quite a dense yarn, but this is the first draft was the fiber, and it's a Rambouillet, and I spun it as a 2-ply fractal spin, and I got 448 yards of a 2-ply fingering weight, so that's pretty good for me. Like I said, it is dense. It's not crunchy, it's not hard, it's just a dense yarn. So here's what it looks like. And so this will be put up in the shop, updated soon. I can't say when, probably this week sometime. I'll get pictures taken and make a tag for it. So
just makes me want football to be back.
Amanda's a big football fan, as is Andy. So this has shades of purple, like a dark twilight purple, a light lavender purple, and orange. And so sometimes they meet up, sometimes they're barber poling.
That's purple?
It's like a periwinkle, blue, purple.
Oh, yeah. Now I see it. Like when I looked at it from far away, it almost looked like a light blue.
Oh. Yeah, it's like periwinkle. So, I finished that, and then I used my random number generator, as you know I like to do, and it selected for me, out of my stash, some Highland Handmaids. It's a mix of 40% superwash merino, 40% regular merino, and 20% silk, and this is in the Lakeshore colorway, so this is the second 2 ounces. I'm working on the first 2. Again, I'm just doing a 2-ply fractal as I like to do, so, but yeah. It is a slick fiber with the silk. I haven't spun anything with silk in it in a while. So I'm trying not to go super thin with it because, again, if I go super thin, it's more of a chance of it slipping out and then having to find the end and all that. So this is foreign language to Amanda. She's not into spinning yet.
No.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, I've got my wheel in my closet. I could totally get her. Like,
I'd always watch the ladies like doing it. I'm just like, interesting.
There was a speed spinner at the Northern Michigan Fiber Festival, and she was just like, for 2 days, nonstop. Yeah, and she had some interesting knitwear on. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, you might get some nice calves.
Yeah, I mean, how her legs did not cramp up, I don't know. But, so yeah, so that's what I'm working on in terms of spinning. Let's move into In the Scene Shop, our other crafting. I am still working on my cross stitch in the Dimensions kit called In the Moment. It says Live Life in the Moment. And I'm trying again to park a little bit so I have threads kind of going everywhere. But I am firmly working on the upper half now. So you can see I've got some shading going up in here. And I'm just going to say life. Live life in the moment. So working on that. That's the only other crafting I'm really doing. I had a quick bug to I want to learn to weave, but then I'd have to buy stuff and things, and I'm like, it would use a lot of my stash quicker and make scarves, and there were some pretty woven things at the fair this weekend, but yeah. You don't do any other crafting, do you really? You were doing my diamond painting for me.
I was, and then I really enjoyed that. But I had nowhere to put it, and it became such a pain to, like, have to grab it and take it out and put it on a table, like, find everything, because in the apartment that I'm in right now with Mom, like, there's just nowhere to, like, keep it.
Right,
so
keep it out, and so it gets to be a hassle. Understandable. It is... You're making good progress on it. You'll get back to it eventually.
Yeah.
And even if we need to set you, I don't know, up here with a little table or something, you could do it up here or not when you want to. Or... She tends to spend a lot of time here anymore, which is okay. She's got the dog. She's got now crafting with us.
I kind of live here. It's okay. Anywhere my Ernie's at, I'm at.
Yeah, he's asleep at our feet. I think the other one's probably underneath you right next to you.
I hear his little snores.
Whereas one time we were recording with Callie and they were up here and he was sawing some logs underneath the chair. Alright, so let's move into In the Spotlight. So first of all, we're going to talk about what we're watching and reading. So we're still kind of working through Grace and Frankie a little bit. We haven't really been home to watch that. The three of us, Mandy, myself, and Andy, we watched The Greatest Showman. So Amanda's been dying to watch it. And I've been interested in seeing it. I thought it was pretty good. It was catchy. I liked the songs. We got it through Redbox, and you kept it the next day. And I know you said you were doing like a live sing-along version with it because you love the music.
Yes. Well, I don't know. Like, I would hear the soundtrack constantly and fell in love with it. I thought the movie, I mean, it was good. I kind of expected a little more. I think because I was so obsessed with the soundtrack. But, I don't know. It was alright.
There were some good cinematography moments, and then there were some times that I was like, like they cut corner. You know, like, fancy dance sequences, you can tell they were doubles because their faces were always darkened, or, you know, it just seemed like they CGI'd some stuff, you know, and...
Yeah.
Advances in technology, I get it. But again, I was hoping for a little bit more. And I guess I was jilted too because I had saw this like Facebook parody video about like how great of a man P.T. Barnum was and the circus itself and the how, you know, like anything in Hollywood, the story is embellished.
Well, that's also the thing. It's only like slightly true to stuff. Like a lot of it is fake. Like Zac Efron's character is not a real person in real life, and like he didn't end up starting the circus until he was like in his 60s. But in the movie, like, was he in his 20s, 30s, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was a little different. And then, well, the thing that kind of bothered me was the Swedish opera singer.
Yeah.
That song is my favorite song on the soundtrack. And the girl that sings it isn't the actual actress. And she was just not very good at lip syncing. And it just, it turned me off.
Oh, I see. I didn't know she wasn't the actual singer.
No, she is not.
Well, and what I thought was funny, too, is, like, I know you're making it modern day and a modern day music, but it wasn't even opera. It wasn't anything.
No.
The song was nowhere near even opera.
But I adore that
And
song.
from what I've seen, what I saw in that parody video, like, there's no correlation that they had anything going on, that they had any type of even kinship, friendship, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But again, what I take away from a Facebook video, take it with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah, and I think it was just to add a little like conflict and resolution.
Right,
to the
you've
movie,
got to put stuff into the plot to make it interesting, and I get that. So, but we watched that, and then I finished a book. I finished listening to The Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister by Gregory Maguire, which I actually gave you the book, whether you read it or not, I don't know. I thought it was okay. I think I ended up giving it only 2 stars on Goodreads because I actually I hovered over the stars, and they have little pop-ups, and it's like, it was okay is 2 stars. Usually 1 star I reserve for something that I absolutely cannot finish, which is very rare. I enjoyed it, I think, better with the audiobook, having a narrator. I thought that this book was better than the book Lost that I read by him. And I think part of that was listening to it as well. But I do not think it was good as Wicked. I think Wicked and Son of a Witch was like his 2 best known. I have 1 more of his books. I think Mirror Mirror, which is, you know, again, taken off of a fairy tale. I think I'm going to give a break before I listen to that. But, I mean, I thought it was an interesting take on the Cinderella fairy tale. Very different, much more based in the folklore aspect. And in the audiobook, there was actually a book talk with the author that the recorded books actually did an interview with him about the book. And so that was the last hour, and I was like, I'm not going to listen to this. And I was like, well, I'm going to finish dyeing these skeins before I turn it off. And I actually really enjoyed the interview because it actually helped peel back the layers of the story that were being built by the author that I didn't necessarily recognize while listening to the book. So yeah, I mean, I only gave it 2 stars, but I thought it was okay. He just gets very wordy sometimes, and that it is what it is. So that's what I finished reading-wise. What have you been watching and or reading?
I just recently finished a book called Serpents in the Cold. I'm not sure. I know there were 2 authors. I do this thing a lot where I go to the dollar store, like the Dollar Tree, and look through their books because I found some like hidden gems there, you know. And so I got this, and they're both from Boston. One has never even written a book before, but it's set in the 50s in Boston. And what I really enjoyed was they put a lot of their like knowledge and whatnot about Boston like in the book. So it was kind of interesting, like reading about Boston. But essentially the book was about this girl ends up getting murdered, and these 2 guys, one used to be a cop and the other one is kind of a lowlife, but they knew this girl, and they're trying to like help solve the murder, and like there's a lot of like mob stuff, and they kind of they don't use like, because it's a fictional book, but they kind of make it correlate to things that have like happened in Boston. So like certain mobsters in Boston back in those days, they kind of have that tie, and it was really interesting and I enjoyed it, but for some reason it took me a while to get through, and I have been dying to read another book and I forced myself to finish this before I got it. But yeah, it was a pretty good book, and I actually gave it to Mom, and she's reading it at work. But right now, I'm so excited. I don't know why I haven't read it before, because I've been wanting to for quite a few years, but it's called The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. I'm super into true crime. Super
Like
into...
what listens to podcasts true crime all day long?
Mom says, "You're gonna murder someone." I'm like, "Why?" Because I love true crime. Whatever. But Anne Rule is a true crime writer and reporter and whatnot. But so she wrote The Stranger Beside Me about Ted Bundy. And the crazy thing, and why, like, this book is incredibly famous, because Ted Bundy was on his killing spree, but no one at that time knew who it was, and she actually started writing this book while that was happening, before he got caught. And another, crazy thing is, she was working alongside him. She was volunteering. He was, doing work study, but at this crisis center where people would call if they were going to commit suicide or just were super depressed, needed help, whatever. They would call. It's one of those hotlines, and she was partnered up with him, in the middle of the night, helping people and whatnot. And it blows my mind that she's writing this book and he knows she's writing this book and he's killing these people and she doesn't know it's him, and that's what's so crazy about it. And then when they discovered it was him, she had to kind of restart the entire book from that mindset, knowing this person that you're, I mean, they weren't best friends or anything, but they were close for quite some time. How did she just is how did I not see this? Especially she was actually a police officer. How did I not see this? I don't know. It's just crazy, and I'm just getting into it. But I don't know. I'm super excited.
Cool.
So.
Well, you'll have to let us know how that turns out. Well.
It's gonna be great, but.
All right. Are you watching anything besides The Greatest Showman?
I was telling you earlier, I was watching The Killing on Netflix, and I know you've already seen it. I've got 4 more episodes, but it's pretty great. I suggest you watch it. It's it makes me cry, and I don't cry very often unless there's animals dying. I don't cry. When people die in movies, I don't cry, but I'm crying. It's super suspenseful. It's kind of like a crime show, who done it, and it's just okay, that person knows, not that, and it's
there's a lot of good twists and turns, and they're very good. That show is very good on keeping you on your toes when you think you have it figured out. So I'll give you that.
I think that's it. Well, trying to catch up on Grey's Anatomy. I watched that. What else do I?
Your greatest show ever ended.
Well,
recently.
I don't want to. Listen, if you've never watched Scandal, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. That's all I'm gonna say. It's the greatest show that has ever existed.
All right. Well, let's move into what's next. Oh, stash enhancement. Okay. So, again, I have stuff. I have some more minis. I didn't link them. I'm not going to link them in the show notes. These are 2 minis from Darn Yarn, Minnesota, who I had gotten some bags from and yarn from, I think, at YarnCon. And I got another mini from Black Cat. Andy picked these out for me, so he got some semi-solids to mix in because I've been getting all the variegateds to put into my stash blanket. And then I've been wanting to get yarn from Lavender Loon, and I saw her at Yarn Over, but I wanted a project in mind, and the stuff that she sampled, she had had brioche or things, and I was like, eh. But then I kind of fell in love with some yarns, and I was actually putting together fades, and I could have put together quite a few different yarns, but I just walked away with 2. Do I know what I'm going to do with these yet? I don't, but it'll probably be some 2-color shawl. But these are both on her... Well, it doesn't say. This is her 75-25 superwash merino nylon fingering weight. So it's the same as our Showstopper base. This one is called Shadow Singer. And it's gray with dark gray black speckles, a little bit of like a plummy orange and some gold. It's just got, I fell in love with this one, the first one. And then this one is called Madhouse. And so I thought these went well together. So that's from Lavender Loon Yarn Company, hand dyed in northern Minnesota. So I love that little pop of blue in there. So that's what I got. And then my group of friends all got like enabled with each other, and there was this company, they were at Yarn Over, and it's called Ghana Crazy, and basically they're people who sell the baskets and bags that are produced by women in foreign countries, third world countries, for fair trade. They give them a fair living wage to make these bags, and then they import them and they sell them. And everybody was buying these baskets, and they're like, you need to get one, we all got different colors, da da da. And I said, by the end of the weekend, I will possibly buy one, because my basket of minis and these scrap blankets will not fit in the basket anymore. My basket just kind of fits the minis, so I need something else to house the actual blanket. So that's how I justified this. They had actually sold the size, because they had a medium and a large, and I wanted the large, and they sold it. And then I said something to the owners. They said, well, we think we have more in the van. And I said, well, I'm just letting you know, if it's here in like the last 10 minutes, maybe I'll buy one. Lo and behold, I left and I came back, and they had like 3 of them in this color. So I ended up getting one of the bags from Ghana Crazy, and it is quite large compared to Amanda's head. And so it's got the nice kind of leather accents at the bottom, and it's got a pocket in the front. I liked this kind of gray, blue, teal color, and it's got nice leather handles. And I've got 2 big project bags, like sweater project bags in here, and there's still tons of room. And what's nice is there's this little, it's not fully lined, but it's got this cloth section here. And it has, oh, mine doesn't have one.
No, it does, because I saw it earlier.
There it is. Because I couldn't feel it. It's got a little drawstring. So you can sit there and go whoop, and then you can close, and everything's in there and protect it. Look how big that is. It was like the size of my stomach.
I could bring the dog somewhere in that.
You totally could. So I thought this was good, and for this size, I thought it was very reasonably priced. I think they all were, but especially for the large, this was only $45, which I think is pretty good, especially when you consider these were handmade, you know, and you're supporting, you know, fair trade and all that. So I think their mediums were slightly smaller, but not by much, and those were $35. So I didn't think that was bad. I didn't really care for the baskets, and there's a lot of companies who import them and sell them on the side, or it's part of their business, and they're one of those, this isn't the baskets, but the baskets a lot of times, and I saw them doing this at Yarn Over, you know, they smush them together and put them in bins and totes, but you actually just wet them, and you can kind of whack them out and shape them once they're wet, because the reeds, it's kind of like blocking for a basket. So they had like big buckets of water at Yarn Over, and they were in the parking lot kind of dunking them and then, like, you know, whacking them out to kind of open the baskets again. So that was my purchase right before I left. I was like, okay, sell me a basket. Or whatever it is. Bin, bag, tote. So that's from Ghana Crazy. I will try to find them online and link them in the show notes. Alright, we have a giveaway this episode, as we do every episode as of late. And this episode's giveaway is for this book called Betsy Beads. And it is by Betsy Hirschberg, and it is Confessions of a Left Brain Knitter. So, beads, belts, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, and more. Knit with polish, knit with Betsy Beads. So, to be entered for this, I'm not going to do a review of it or anything, but to be entered, you must be a member of the Dramatic Knits group and Ravelry, and I already have the thread up, and you can post once, and We will use a random number generator before we record next time to pull for a winner. The prompt you need to answer is, what is the longest amount of time that you have slept for? I don't know, and I thought it was I use a random conversation starter to get these, and I thought it was interesting because this book, well, I'm sure if you're going to enter for it, you are going to find it interesting. I was like, not my style. That's kind of a snooze fest for me. So then I figured snooze fest, sleep. And I was trying to think, what's the longest I've ever slept? I think it was like 16 hours. Of course, you usually sleep when you're sick. And I was sick, I think. 16 or more hours, I think.
I think I beat you.
You can sleep a lot, though, on a normal basis. And she is a dead to the world sleeper.
Yeah.
Like, we have stories from our family about my mom getting locked out in the garage and honking car horns and doorbells and banging, and she got locked out with nothing on her feet on cold cement and had to call me, and she had to, like, go into the neighbors in her pajamas, and she didn't know any of the wiser.
Alarms, nothing.
Yeah, didn't know any of the wiser.
No.
So how long do you think is the longest you slept?
I don't know, but I want to say close to an entire day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it was probably like sickness or something, or just like, I mean, if there's nothing around me, and I mean, sometimes I can wake up on my own, but if I don't have an alarm, there's nothing, nope, I'm not waking up. Nope.
Well, so go ahead and then go over to the group to enter for that. We'll pull for a winner for that next episode. So that moves us into a round of applause. And last episode, we got too much stuff now. We were graciously gifted a copy of Giving You Cake Cowl by Corrado Lark, who's going to be our new featured designer. And I said, since he graciously donated that, we were going to give yarn to make the cowl. So, would you hold that for me? We have 2 skeins of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed and Dove Heather, and 2 skeins in Autumn Heather. It's enough they're 50-gram skeins, so it's enough to make the cowl. And so those are going to be going together. And the winner of that, I pulled for before we recorded, and that was number 27, and that's Nikki52879, and that's Nikki from Wisconsin. So congratulations, Nikki. I had the pleasure of driving across your state all day yesterday. And the prompt last episode was, what have you done recently that is deserving of someone giving you cake? Since the Giving You Cake cowl. And Nikki said, well, I have donated over 250 hats since this time last year, plus 45 other items for charity. And then she added, my birthday's at the end of this month. So how fitting is that?
Happy birthday.
So happy early birthday, and thank you so much for all your charity knitting. That is amazing how much you've been doing. And hopefully you will join in our charity hat drive that we do in the fall to help with the Frederick Cancer Hospital in Wisconsin. And but yeah, so congratulations, Nikki. If you would please email me Dramatic Knits on Ravelry, give me your first and last name and mailing address. I will then mail you the yarn, and I'll let Corrado know, and he will gift you a copy of the cowl. So congratulations, and thank you everyone for sharing with us what you've been doing recently. All right, April came to a close. It's already May. That's crazy. I know.
My birthday's in like how many weeks? Like 2, 3?
I know. Crazy. 23.
Such a youngin'.
Plus, I was telling Andy, like, we're going to Estes Park next month. It's Colorado, and that's a big trip for us. We're kind of doing a whole tour, and that's always seemed very far off. And we're like, oh my god, that's next month. It's just, things keep adding up. But anyway, so our April 2018 Race to the Finished Object Contest, I drew for winners, again, before recording. We have 2 prizes. The first is another book. This is 101 Luxury One Skein Wonders. And this actually looks like there's some, a variety of patterns in there that you could knit. And all the pictures are up front, using that one skein of something luxurious to you. And the winner of this was number 128, CDS Gifts, and that's Penny from Michigan. So congratulations. She knit a pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks. So congratulations, Penny. Again, email me Dramatic Knits with your first and last name and mailing address, and I will get this out to you. Who knows, I may have Mandy go into my Ravelry account and have her ship it out for me, since she's the Besides the master rescanner, she's the shipping queen. And then we had a pattern from our featured designer, and in April our featured designer was Shelby Hamden. It was her last month being featured. And the winner of that was number 243, Debbie J. Jackson, who is Debbie from California, who I get the pleasure of seeing at the Zombie Apocalypse every year. And she did a Yeksa shawl, Y-E-K-S-A shawl. So congratulations. Debbie, if you would please look at Shelby's patterns. We have her pattern page linked in our show notes at dramaticknits.com. Let me know what pattern of Shelby's you would like, and I'll let Shelby know, and she will gift it to you. So, congratulations. Thank you, everyone, for sharing what you have finished. Our May thread is open, so make sure you go over there. Anything you finish in the month of May is eligible. You just post a picture. If you want to leave the name or link it to your project page, that'd be great. And we'll pull for, again, 2 winners. Our new featured designer for May, and for the next 6 months, is Corrado Lark, who is a new and up-and-coming designer, and I think he's got a lot of cool things to showcase with us. So keep your eyes peeled for him. If you do not follow him, and he has a YouTube channel as well, which I haven't started yet, but I look forward to following him on YouTube as well. So there's that. So we're going to move into center stage. I have a few things to talk about with Leading Men Fiber Arts, but if you leave us now, we'll see you soon in the future. Well, Mandy will see you. Who knows? Maybe she'll just start joining us. I don't know. Might be far away if we have to get all 3 of us in here, but she'll definitely, I'm sure. I've got her on once. Now I can twist her arm to join me when Callie can't make it on. But anyway, let's talk about Leading Men Fiber Arts. I just want to share with you the next few things that are coming up in the pike for us. We're going to be in Kentucky this weekend. So we're going down to Lexington, Kentucky for the Kentucky Sheep and Wool Festival. And yeah.
You just missed the Derby.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was like last weekend, wasn't it? Or the weekend before?
It was Cinco de Mayo weekend, so...
So it was when we were in Mexico. Because I saw stuff on the news. We only got like 3 channels in our room that were in English. So, and one was CNN, but it was a different CNN because they were all British. Like the anchors. I don't know, it was weird. So anyway, the Kentucky Sheep and Wool, that's going to be May 19th and 20th, this Saturday and Sunday in Lexington, Kentucky. We hope you will stop on by. I'm not sure what building I'm in yet or where I'm at. They won't tell us till we get there. But come say hi if you're in the area. We'd love to meet you. And then just added, I booked a trunk show with our local yarn store. So I'm going to be setting that trunk show up on Tuesday, May 22nd, and it will be coming down on Tuesday, May 29th. So it'll be there for a whole week. Mandy doesn't know it, but she is going to be working those days to help me set up and tear down, since we're going to be there for knitting anyway. And that Saturday, the I did this in my head, 5th? 26th? 26th. As far as we know, Dallas Ann Prentice, the one who did the April Showers cardigan that I'm knitting, she's going to be coming showcasing some of her designs, which have been designed out of Leading Men Fiber Arts. And I will be there, and who knows, this one might be here.
Okay.
And I'll be there for a meet and greet and color consultation to kind of help you pick out colors for a design if you want.
Yeah, that's his thing.
And Mandy will be knitting probably swatches or on her shawl. And so come say hi. That's in Bloomington, Illinois. And yeah. And then that Sunday afterwards, we'll be recording again. So I'll let you know about future shows after that, because then we start getting really busy again. We're going to be gone every weekend in June. You're going to be living here, like, full time.
That's good.
All right, so you got through it.
I did.
And you did very well. So we're going to go watch a scary movie. I would say in the dark, but I think we're going to knit. So we got the side lamp on, ready to go.
I don't think it's very scary. It's more suspenseful.
Yeah.
Also probably stupid, but it's okay.
Well, yeah, we haven't heard the best about the story, but I'm super excited because I visited the Winchester house, so it's going to be interesting to see how well they did and how things line up with the, because of course they made it into a set. It's not they didn't record the movie in the real house, but to see the certain elements that I got to see in the house. So that's what I'm excited about. So we're going to go watch Winchester. I'll let you know how that is next time. And, yeah, thank you so much. You took a dip too. Come on. Oh. Anyway, thank you for joining us. If you want to follow this one, she's off of social media. She's doing that kind of social media detoxing, which she's very happy with.
Still have Instagram, but don't really post anything. So.
But she is on Ravelry, even though she's like, I'm never on there. What are you on Ravelry?
Dramatic Mandy.
Which she didn't tell me for years that she doesn't like the word. She doesn't like to be called Mandy. You notice I tried to refrain, but that's what I call her. And she doesn't care because I'm a brother. But she likes, it's like me, and people called me Stevie growing up, and I won't respond to it anymore. Like, yeah. It's kind of a childish name. So.
I don't mind it so much anymore, but I did when I was younger because I was like, I'm not a baby. But
she's Amanda. So, but it's funny. When she helped out at a couple shows last summer, I had Andy's name on the tag, so she'd pretend to be Andy. I'd like, you could put an M in front of it.
Oh, a few people were just like, Andy, and I was like, yeah, what? Yeah.
She'd start responding to it by the end of the weekend. So anyway, give her some love, friend her on Ravelry, or whatnot. Leave her some comments on YouTube. I'll let her know to check them out. Welcome her to the podcast, and congratulate her on working on her Lumina Wrap. And anyway, there's the proud brother, the proud older brother. So, until we see you again in a couple of weeks, we hope you
knit something
dramatic.